One of the most common things we hear when we talk about sewing is, I used to sew, but I haven't in years and I don't know where to start. So if that sounds like you, then you're definitely in the right place, because today, Haley and I are gonna share 5 steps to restart your sewing. All right, so if you are restarting sewing, your first step is to get your act together. When I say get your act together, I mean get all your stuff together. So your machine, your tools, everything you're gonna need to start sewing, get it all together. And this is a really good place to start because it's something concrete you can do. And it's gonna kind of set you up for success and make you feel like you're making progress even before you've started sewing. Another thing that can be really helpful is our webinar that we have. It's totally free. It's called 3 Secrets to Start Sewing Quickly. And it's for people who are new to sewing, but it's also for people who are restarting sewing and haven't done it in a while. So you can check that out, and it goes over things like how to learn to love your machine. And I think that is the first thing you want to get together, is get your machine together. And by that I mean get it serviced, make sure it's in working order, do a few practice stitches, make sure that it's all tuned up and ready to go.
Yes, definitely. And in addition to your machine, you're also going to want to gather your tools, dig out that dusty box of sewing tools, make sure you have everything you need, double check if anything needs to be replaced. Maybe you have a really dull pair of scissors or a dull seam ripper that just will not do the trick. So make sure that you have all of those things and replace anything that is just worn out or busted. You'll also want to get your practice fabric together. And this can be something as simple as an old pair of sheets, or you could go to a fabric store and pick out like a quilting cotton or something like that that's fairly cheap, that you just like to look at and will be fun for you to do a little bit of practicing on. We also have a really wonderful download that is free, and it is the Beginner Tools Guide, which we can also link below. And it can be a really great place to start if you just don't know what kinds of supplies you're going to need.
Yeah, it's really helpful if you're a beginner. It goes through all the tools you'll need. It also goes through a checklist of skills that you need as a beginner, but it's also very applicable if you're somebody who's restarting sewing.
Step number 2 is work on getting that muscle memory back. We talk about often that sewing is really that combination of knowledge about knowing the steps you need to do to get something done, but also the muscle memory of being able to make your hands do what your brain is telling it to do. And this is where your practice fabric is going to come into play, because you'll get to do a little bit of experimentation and practice with that.
Yeah, so what we'd recommend is take your machine out and just do some practice stitches. Make sure it's working, like we talked about before. Do a few different stitches. So try some of the different stitches on your machine. Make sure you know how to do all those and how they work. And then try a few different things. So try a straight seam, try a curved seam, try finishing an edge with your machine. Just try a few things out and make sure you know how to do all of those real basic things. All right, step number 3, once you've got your stuff and you've practiced a few stitches, step number 3 is to make a real easy, low stakes project, something like a tote bag that you can use a lot, but it's gonna kind of start getting you used to making an actual project.
We actually have a pattern that's really great for this. It is our Ollie grocery set. It's a pattern that is a unlined tote bag, and it also has some drawstring produce bags. And we actually have a totally free sew along on YouTube that we'll link to. And it can be just the additional hand holding that you need to get you from cutting to finished project.
I know that sometimes it can seem like making simple things like a tote bag or a pillow or something like that can seem kind of boring if you really want to get to making clothing, but it's not necessarily boring. I love making tote bags because it's something that I get to use all the time, and it's really nice to have one that's actually cute, like in a cute fabric or a cute color. I think it's highly underrated.
Definitely underrated. It is one of my favorite kind of gimme projects. Step number 4 to restarting your sewing is to do a guided garment project. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is choose a garment project that you are going to get a little extra hand holding on. So for instance, 2 of my absolute favorite beginner sewing projects that we have at Seamwork is the Hansi top pattern and the Madu top pattern. And both of these have really great sew alongs. So not only do you get the comprehensive pattern instructions to guide you, but you also have a video sew along to refer to along the way. And if you were feeling really confident when you were doing your, low stakes project, if it was all coming back to you really easily, I think that would be a really great place for you to start.
And if you feel like you need even a little bit more hand-holding than that, if you need a little bit more guidance and you really want to dig into all the skills and build them in a really intentional way, you can check out our Learn to Sew course that does guide you through 2 projects step by step and really helps you to systematically build the skills that you'll need. So we teach you each of the component skills, and then you get to put them together into a project, and then build more component skills, put those together into a project. So if that sounds like something that you might want to try, you can check out the Learn to Sew course as well. We'll link to that down below, of course. And the other thing that I think is really helpful at this point is just to find some community. So find some people that can help you out when you get stuck. And that could be people you know in real life. It could be folks online here on YouTube, or it could be in the Seamwork community. We have a community of over 20,000 people that are there to help you and answer questions and offer you support and share your projects with. So wherever you can find that sense of community and that place you can go to get the support that you need, that's really going to help you to keep going and keep you motivated to keep sewing. All right, number 5, and this is less of a step and more of a mindset shift, is to embrace being a beginner. I think there are so many advantages to being a beginner and being new at something, and there's a lot of joy in it too. So make sure that you're really focusing on that and allowing yourself to experience everything that comes with being new to something and learning a lot at once.
We actually have a really great podcast episode on this topic. It's called The Advantages of Being a Beginner. And we really talk about how in the beginner's mind, there's so many different possibilities and you're really open to all of them. And I think that's a really beautiful part of this portion of your journey that you get to not only experience, but revisit as someone who's returning to sewing.
Well, all these tips have me feeling really nostalgic for the beginning of my sewing journey. So share with us in the comments, what was the first thing that you ever sewed? I would love to hear it, and I'll put my answer in there too. And you will too, Haley, right?
I will do the same.
All right, we'd love to hear from you. So we'll see you guys next week.